How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball. Welcome back to another transfer update. We'll delve deep into all the latest transfer rumours and done deals going around Europe. Starting off with Seko Fofana, as Fabrizio Romano says that Lens midfielder Fofana moved to Al-Nassr for a fee of up to 30 million euros has been fully agreed.
It's been announced, actually.
It's been announced now. So, I mean, Seko Fofana is a top midfielder. He's been one of the leading midfielders in the French league for the last couple of years. I really felt like a big move around Europe was in the offing for him. Lens are getting completely stripped with their team that made it into the Champions League, and I just feel like he could have made it and could have gone to a top team in the Premier League as opposed to go out to Saudi at this early stage of his career.
Yeah, it's another case of a player in their prime getting the move to Saudi rather than getting that big European move. Obviously, he's getting a shitload of money, should we just say. But it's a shame because it would have been really interesting to see how he would have gotten on at a big European team, or even in the Champions League with Lens as well. That also would have been something to really get excited about. He's going over to Saudi Arabia. He's again, I think, is he joining Cristiano Ronaldo in their team? So I don't understand that, because I thought the team that Ronaldo joined were banned from signing players. So I don't understand what's happened there, why all of a sudden they're allowed to sign. But it is a shame. We're not going to see Seko Fofana at a top European club or in the Champions League for Lens. But good luck to him over in Saudi Arabia.
What do you make out of these comments made by Cristiano Ronaldo talking about the Saudi League? Did you see them today?
I did. He said it's better than the MLS.
He's saying it's better than the MLS, and football in Europe is going downhill. Apart from the Premier League, the other top European leagues don't have as much quality as maybe they used to have, and the Saudi League will be up there one day.
Well, look, in terms of the Saudi League, it just depends about how sustainable this model is of signing loads of players on lots and lots of money. Basically going to be making a loss, because I don't think that the Saudi League is going to be able to generate the revenues of some of the other top European clubs to justify it. So it might be something that they're doing now, maybe in lead up to the World Cup, but in 10 years' time, is it still going to be there as a league which everyone wants to join? I have my reservations. In terms of it being ahead of the MLS, I think in the short term it might well be, because it's really, I think first of all he's throwing a bit of shade at Messi, I think, by saying that, and secondly, I think short term, while they're getting all this influx of top talent, I think it might be, but whether, again, in the long term, whether it will be able to sustain itself, a bit like China, where they got an influx of top players, but it wasn't able to sustain it because it just wasn't getting the revenue to justify all these big wages.
The thing is, the difference is between China and the MLS and the Saudi. I mean, China, they did get one or two players playing at the peak of their career, like Yannick Carrasco, and maybe there was one or two others as well. But I don't think like the volume of player going over to China was anywhere near what it's like in the Saudi League in terms of players going there at a ripe age. And in the MLS as well, it was always players just going there at the end of their careers. They didn't really get any players at the top of their game. So that is a difference between them and the Saudi League.
Yeah, I think it's definitely greater at the moment with Saudi. I still think it's a comparable situation, but I think, yeah, Saudi definitely doing it with more intent, that's for sure. And I do think it's in the lead up to the World Cup. In terms of what you're saying about the European leagues, I think it's probably right. The Premier League is taking over a bit. I think some people are saying we've already got a Super League in the Premier League, because all the money is literally being funneled in the Premier League right now. Every Premier League club, when you see like Bournemouth competing financially with AC Milan for players, you know there's something going wrong financially with the rest of Europe. Albeit Serie A did have a team in each final, didn't they, in European final last season, but they did lose all of them. And you think about the English teams right now, last season Man City won the Champions League, season before it took a miracle for Madrid to beat City and Liverpool to win the Champions League. Season before that, Chelsea won the Champions League. West Ham won the Conference League. You got Man United in the final in the Europa League last season. So like English clubs are really starting to dominate at the moment in European level. So maybe he has a point about that.
I think he has a massive point in terms of the state of European football. But let's move on and let's talk about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. As Romano says that Chelsea striker Aubameyang has agreed a 3-year contract to join Marseille, with the clubs negotiating a transfer fee as it stands. Look, I mean, Aubameyang's time, I think, at the top of European football has probably come and gone now. After he left Arsenal, he just never seemed to pick that up again, and it's probably the right move for him.
Surprised he hasn't been offered a Saudi move yet at his age, but yeah, I agree. Apart from a short spell at Barcelona where he scored quite a few goals, it hasn't been going in his direction for the past few years. I think he needs a move to a team like Marseille to gain his confidence back and be a star in a team like that, because I don't think he's ever going to cut it really at likes of Chelsea right now, especially how Poch wants to play, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Next up, let's talk about another deal involving Chelsea and Moises Caicedo. David Ornstein says that Chelsea have made an improved second offer for Moises Caicedo on Monday after the £60 million bid was rejected by Brighton in early June. The latest bid in writing was worth £70 million fixed, no add-ons. Brighton have turned that down, and the 21-year-old does want the switch, but it's just up to the two clubs to agree a fee. And, you know, they were basing it around the Declan Rice deal. Do you think that Chelsea will end up going as far as 105 million?
I don't think they should, but I don't understand what they're playing at, because Brighton rejected 70 million from Arsenal in January, and then he went on to sign a new deal. And so what makes them think 70 million is going to be enough now? Obviously, his price is going to go up, and I think Brighton are well within their right to demand that kind of money. I don't know if they will. I mean, 100 million is a bit much for Caicedo. Surely I think there's other talent in the French league, the Italian league, where you can get a lot cheaper for a player who's similar quality to Caicedo. Not to say that he's not good, but like, for example, Seko Fofana, I know he's gone to Saudi, but he went for 30 million euros. Like, he's like in the same ballpark as Caicedo, in my opinion. I don't see Caicedo being double the player of Seko Fofana. So I think there's value to be had in these other leagues. And if I was advising Chelsea, I would say this deal was way too expensive and go to other options. But if they're so clearly under Bowley, when they want someone, they go get him. And I think that they probably will end up going to the 100 million mark.
Yeah, I guess the only difference is that you're signing a midfielder which is Premier League proven, and even though you're going to spend, you know, a lot less money signing from outside the Premier League, sometimes you just don't know if they're going to settle into the Premier League straight away, where they want someone to come in and hit the ground running. And, you know, it could come from outside the Premier League, but maybe it's more safer bet if it is someone that has been there, done it over the last year in the Premier League, like Caicedo.
A safer bet for 4 times the price.
Yeah.
I don't think
when money's no option for someone, then what does it matter?
I guess, yeah.
Let's talk. This is an interesting one. Let's talk about Leon Goretzka. Sky Germany says that West Ham have joined Manchester United in looking for a move for Bayern Munich midfielder Leon Goretzka. Bayern want between 40 to 50 million euros to sell the German, as Thomas Tuchel wants another number 6. I mean, first of all, what a player Leon Goretzka is. Second of all, why do West Ham think Leon Goretzka would ever move to them? They're
dreaming, I think. I just think they've got a shitload of money from Rice, and they're thinking, all right, well, let's go for someone like... Because obviously Goretzka's probably a better player than Rice, I think.
Yeah.
Or he's definitely in the same ballpark. I know Rice has developed a lot over the last few years, but Goretzka's been at the top of his game for a while. I'm surprised that Bayern are willing to let him go for such a small amount of money, because I think he's a real fantastic all-round midfielder. I think he offers everything you want in a midfielder in terms of on the ball, off the ball. I think he's top level. He's definitely a Champions League level player for sure. I think he could fit in a Man City or a Liverpool or something with no problem. So I think West Ham are just living in fantasy land if they really think they can convince Goretzka to come, unless Goretzka's kind of motivated by a real challenge of being a star player in a team like West Ham. But I would have thought someone like Man United more appropriate for someone at Goretzka's level, and I think he would fit in alongside Casemiro amazingly.
What a midfield too that would be. Casemiro and Goretzka. I mean,
behind Bruno.
Behind Bruno. I mean, not many players are getting through that midfield.
No, definitely not. I think that's probably the right switch for him. I'm trying to. I don't think Man City will go for him. I think that makes sense.
Good price as well, 40 to 50 million for someone of that quality.
Yeah, and he's not always like 27, I think. That was good age. I think it makes sense.
So you're talking about, like, I think, like, what we were talking about before with the Caicedo thing and talking about 100 million.
Exactly.
You're talking about Goretzka for 40, 50 million. Yeah, I was saying that maybe they won't bet into the Premier League, but Goretzka's like a seasoned pro. You know, he's been there, done that, done everything in the game pretty much. So I think, like, Chelsea should probably be seriously looking at this.
This is what I'm talking about finding better value. I think Caicedo for even 70 million, I think it's a bit ridiculous. And when you got people like Goretzka going from abroad for like 50 million euros, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I think
he is 21 though, Caicedo.
Yeah, I know, but and that probably adds value to him. But still, Goretzka is a top midfielder in my opinion. I think Caicedo still has to prove that.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Florian Balogun of Arsenal. The Athletic are reporting that Inter Milan are expected to bid £34.3 million for the striker Florian Balogun, who Arsenal value at £50 million. I mean, £50 million is very steep for someone like Balogun. I know he's just had a sensational season in the French league, scoring over 20 goals. But 50 million?
I mean, 18 months ago, he couldn't get in the Middlesbrough team.
Yeah, exactly.
He's smashing out. But look, to be fair to him, when you have a season like you do in the French league, and then also he made his debut for the US and I think went on to score for the US as well. So also making, I wouldn't say waves, so he's making a bit of an impact at international level as well. Clearly, he's a young striker. I think he's like 21 years of age, so he's starting to really make his way and find his path. So I think when you're scoring that amount of goals in the top European league at that age, I think people are going to take notice. And I think that makes sense. You know, you're talking about Jonathan David, talking about similar prices for him. He's 24. I know he's been around for longer and a bit older than Balogun, but he got 24 goals last season. Balogun got 21 for probably a worse side as well. So I know 50 million sounds like a lot, but I think it's more to do with the fact that he's at a Premier League team. I think if he was owned by Stade Rennes, or not Stade Rennes, Reims, Will Still's team. If he was owned by them, I think the price would be a bit cheaper because I think they're probably not in a position to reject an offer of like 30 million, whereas Arsenal can demand top dollar, and also with the fact that if no one wants him, they've got a very good backup striker to Jesus, or even a striker whom they might believe could overtake Jesus. Who knows? So I think that's probably what's put the price so high, and also his age. So I think the price kind of makes sense. If I was Inter Milan, would I spend 50 million on Balogun? Obviously, they've pulled out the Lukaku deal now because of negotiations with Juventus. They've already got Lautaro Martinez through the door. I don't know. I think 50 million. I think you can find better value than him for that kind of price.
If I'm Inter Milan and I really believe in Balogun, what I'm doing probably is trying to do a deal with Arsenal where it's like a loan with an option to buy that maybe turns into an obligation if he hits a certain goal criteria or something, if he smashes it out in the Serie A next year. That's what I'm going to try and do.
Yeah, that's probably right, and maybe Arsenal will be receptive to that.
Let's talk about Riyad Mahrez now. Romano claiming that Al-Ahli have sent a bid of €21 million to Man City for Riyad Mahrez, which has been rejected as City want at least €35 million. But the Saudi club are more and more confident that they will sign their man.
Surely it's just it'll happen. I mean, it sounds like they're far apart, but I think Mahrez, being one of the best wingers in the league, and is still playing at a high level even now, in my opinion. I think €35 million, I think that's a fair price for him, to be honest. I think 21 million is a bit of a cheapskate kind of offer, and you don't associate these Saudi clubs as being cheapskates. So I do think they'll probably come to some sort of, look, 35 million, maybe come to an agreement at 30, and he'll probably move. I think that probably is going to happen. Yeah,
seems that way. Do you feel like it's a good move for Mahrez at this time in his career, or do you still feel like he's got more to give to the Premier League?
He definitely has more to give. It's a good move for him because he's won everything, and he's won the Champions League, he's won the Premier League, and he's now going to get his one last big contract at 31, 32. But I think he could definitely still play for a Champions League team and be at the top of his game, in my opinion. I think he's got lots more to give, but I understand that at his point he's won so much. Like, it's not like if he leaves he's gonna be leaving the game thinking what could have been. So I think it makes sense.
Next up, let's talk about Aymeric Laporte, as Revelo are claiming that Athletic Bilbao would like to bring Laporte back to the club and will do everything they can do to make it happen. And the player is becoming more convinced of a comeback. I mean, surely Laporte should be setting his sights higher than a return to Atletico Bilbao.
I don't know where they finished last season. I don't know if they're in Europe, but I know that they're not a team who's like not regularly been in Europe. I think they've been in Europa League a lot. They've been in the Champions League a few times. I don't think they finished top 4 last season. So I'm not 100% sure what kind of. I'm not sure what situation they're in. I know that obviously he left there back in 2017, and he's really gone on to become a top centre back. Albeit
they finished 8th, qualified for the Conference League.
In the Conference League, I think he should be going to a team in the Champions League, in my opinion. unless it's Spurs. But I think he should be going to a team. Yeah, right now he's still 28. He's still got so much time. So I think it's way too early for a Bilbao move.
I think he can get a move to a top club. Most top clubs around Europe, in my opinion. I mean, I think he's that good. And we were speaking about him on We Are Tottenham TV not long ago, being like, you know, he should be the #1 choice of centre-backs to come into the club. I mean, I still think he can play at majority of teams in the Premier League as well as around Europe. So I don't really get this one, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's way too early for a Bilbao move. Unless he, you know, because he grew up there. He's one of those players who was from the Basque region, and obviously that's the only players they play or bring through at Bilbao. And unless he really does love the club, which I'm sure he does, and he's convinced that they have a good future, and maybe it could be a big homecoming. Maybe that's one way of selling it to him. But I just think someone like Laporte at 28. I don't know. I think he should be
his
a top
move
club.
After his next move.
When he's like 33 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when he does it.
Yeah. And last but not least, let's talk about Rasmus Hojlund of Atalanta. David Ornstein saying that Man United have agreed and outlined personal terms with Rasmus Hojlund. A gap in the club valuation, so will take time, but talks will continue over a deal as well. PSG are also pursuing Man United in a parallel dialogue with Kolo Muani and others. So do you feel like this deal will get done?
It's very expensive. They're talking about 85 million. That has to be brought down significantly. I can't see United going that high for him right now, considering he's had one season in Serie A where he scored 9 goals. That's not to belittle what he did. He was brilliant, and he's 20 years of age, and I think he's one of the stars of the future. I just think 85 million. I mean, there's no guarantee that he can they follow up. Obviously, I think it's very likely that he will. But look, if you sign him for 85 million, he's your man. He's your star striker. And I don't know if he's ready to be a star striker right now at Man United, as much as I do believe he's a star in the making. I don't know. I think that's a lot of pressure to put on the shoulders of a player at such a young age, when I don't know right now if that's the right course of action for Man United.
It's a bit too much of a risk, isn't it, at that price to pin all your hopes on a 20-year-old kid. I mean, as much as we all believe in his talent, it's still a bit too much to pin all your hopes at that price as a young kid. Like we said in a previous update, his best course of action for his development is probably to stay at Atalanta and become the main man there, and then in a year or two get that big move for that kind of money.
I guess it depends what Man United's ambitions are for next season. If they're willing to be patient with him and just say, look, it might not hit the ground running, but we're willing to invest in you, and we're going to make you a star striker, but we're not going to panic if you have a tough first season. And look, we don't have to challenge for the league. If you have a tough first season, you have to see it through, then fine. But if they're coming in, if they're signing for big money because they've got ambitions to be league champions next season, and they think he can spearhead that, I think that's a bit too much pressure for him right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. But there you have it. That is your transfer update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all of these stories, and we'll see you next time.